Welcome to your doom.
I think you've got the wrong show.
Okay, wait. I know that's around here somewhere. I've got all these papers lying around. This one said, welcome to your doom, and laugh. I don't know, maybe there's... What is this again? What are we even doing? Hi there. This is Tune Into Gaming. Cool old gaming podcast thingamabobber that we're doing over here. I'm North Kozar.
And I'm Quactical.
So, what are we doing this week? Talking about some scary stuff. Jump scares, switches, marshmallow combat, all that good stuff.
Marshmallow combat's my favorite.
I don't know that there's any other kind of enjoyable combat, but we'll get to that later. So, yeah, first up, let's just kind of catch up. It's been good 2 weeks. What have you been up to the past 2 weeks?
Well, as I alluded to last time, Civ 6 was about to come out, and I've been playing the heck out of that. Maybe only about 7 or 8 hours or so I'm partway through my first game. But I should be winning. Either a science or a conquer the world victory. Should be interesting.
How do you win with science?
You actually... Well, so it's always been a space race, but the actual details of the space race have changed through the various Civ games. In Civ 3, I think it was you had to send a mission to Alpha Centauri, and now you have to start like a moon base and like a Martian colony or something.
That's kind of cool.
But yeah, so basically you just get ahead of everyone in research, and there are special technologies that unlock what's called wonders. They're these special buildings that take a lot of turns to complete. And when you complete these buildings, they advance your progress in the space race. So the first person to like research all the appropriate technology and then build the proper buildings wins the science victory.
So then at that point, it's just like the game is over and you've won space.
Yeah, you've won at space.
Nice. I want to win at space someday. That'd be cool.
Doesn't everyone want to win at space? Yeah, well, all the victories kind of work like that. I think there's always been an option to just continue playing after you win, but...
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. If you want to, like, take over the world or something, continue on with it.
Right. But, you know, for the most part, the goal of the game is to win, which is fairly normal for video games.
Yeah, I guess that's how that works.
All right, what about you? What you been up to?
Not a ton. I've recently not gotten back into playing Rocket League, but I've just felt a lot more of a strong urge to play Rocket League. So I've been doing that a bunch, and I've been like trying to hone my flying rocket car through the air skills a little bit better.
Zoom!
Yeah, exactly. And that's been pretty fun, and you know we've gotten to play as well. But I've also been I got hit with the nostalgia bug last episode when we were talking about it. Pokemon Crystal version, I got an emulator
really?
on my phone, and so I've been playing that every now and then. I now have a full party. I've beaten the first 2 gyms. So, you know,
Nice.
things are going pretty good. Pretty good. I started with Cyndaquil because fire's the best Pokemon.
Have you seen the Pokemon commercial that, I don't know if it came out recently, it must have, but it's for the new games. And
Oh, yeah.
it starts with a kid who's like playing red version, and then it like cuts to him as an adult, and he's like walking by the store and he sees the Pokemon there.
I know. Oh my
It's
goodness.
just like all the emotions,
There
all
was
the
so
feels.
many feels. I was like, oh, good job pulling on the heartstrings of like
Right?
this entire generation that grew up with Pokemon. Like, oh man. Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the feels when I saw that. I don't remember when that came out, but I did see it. But speaking of Nintendo, so I guess they're switching things up
Ha 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 ha.
with their gaming a little bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, the Nintendo Switch was announced the beginning of this week or something like that. I don't remember exactly when, but
Was
what's up with
that
that?
one trailer the only content they've released about it so far?
I haven't seen anything else. They were, from my understanding, it was a like more to come type of deal. But yeah,
Okay.
the trailer for the Nintendo Switch, if you haven't seen it, you should, because it's pretty cool.
It's definitely cool.
It's actually kind of long. It's surprisingly long. It's like an almost 4-minute video, I think, that just shows all of the different ways you can use the Nintendo Switch. And so to just try and give you a visual with, you know, words, It's a console that has like a docking station. It's a screen and it fits in the docking station and plugs into your TV. And there's also like two controllers on either side of it, and they snap into the screen, and you can take the screen out of the dock and take it with you, sort of like a PSP looking deal. But then the controllers come off, and you can play two players on one screen portably, but you can also plug the screen into the docking thing and play it on your TV. So it's just like there's a lot of ways to play, and I think that's kind of what they were going for when they were doing the video, was showing all the different ways that you can play with the Switch and like why it's so cool.
Yeah, it definitely seems like one of those things where the idea is that this does everything. You know, it's portable, it's mobile, you can do local LAN, all that kind of stuff. It's funny because the controllers on the side look a hell of a lot like what like the Wiimote and the Nunchuck combo used to be.
Oh yeah,
for the original Wii, which I thought was kind of funny.
I didn't think about that.
How old is the Wii U at this point?
Oh man, I'm not sure.
Because I always feel like the Wii U was very recent because it's like the newest one, but it may not actually be that recent.
Well, no, it's not that recent. Let's see. The Wii U was released in 2012.
Oh,
November
wow.
18th. So that's a solid 4 years.
Because my first thought was like, oh man, I was just about to buy a Wii U. Like, this is coming out already. But no, I guess I'm just like way behind the times.
And yeah, and honestly, like it's so disappointing, the Wii U, because the console itself isn't disappointing. I thought the Wii U was a really neat idea because you've got this console that you have 4 players that can play with Wiimotes or whatever controllers, but then you have this 5th screen that only the person who has, you know, the Wii U gamepad can see. And I just, you know, I felt like there was so much potential for having really cool asymmetrical games where you have, you know, people going through the level trying to do something and someone with the screen trying to mess you up or placing enemies or doing things like that. And there were not really any big games that fully utilized the potential of the hardware, I feel like. And I think Nintendo kind of dropped the ball on just releasing games in general. And I think that's something that they recognized. A lot of people recognized it for sure. That was one of the big complaints about the Wii U. But for the Nintendo Switch, it looks like they already have a bunch of developers lined up. Like they're bringing the Skyrim remastered edition to it and a whole bunch of things. So
yeah, that looked really cool. So there really was a game drought for the Wii U then? Because definitely all the games that I have seen for the Wii U have looked really cool. Like all the newer Mario games and stuff like that, as well as Smash, obviously. So I know there's a lot of stuff that people are playing on it.
There are a number of good games, and I think that I think that it's worth it as a console. But at this point in the game, you know, obviously wait to get the Nintendo Switch because there's just going to be so much more there. But the disappointing thing about the Wii U was the games that came out were few, like and far between. You look at the plethora of games that are out for, you know, an Xbox One or the PS4 at this point. There's just a lot more availability. And with the Wii U, there were some really unique games, like Splatoon was definitely one of the good ones that came out of it, and Mario Maker. I feel like those were two unique uses of the hardware. But at the same time, you know, I feel like that for like a Mario Maker game, they should have had a mode where you could have someone playing with a Wiimote and you're on the screen dropping enemies or doing something. I just feel like that aspect of the hardware wasn't really capitalized on. And overall, there weren't very many game releases for the console, was kind of people's complaints about it.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense because all the games for the Wii U that I'm thinking about in my head, for the most part, are Nintendo IPs. So, like you're saying, the limitation comparing it to like the PlayStation or the Xbox at the moment is that there's so many other developers who develop for those consoles. And so it does sound like it might improve on the Switch if they have all these developers lined up and, you know, they're bringing in Skyrim, they're bringing in all these other options. Yeah,
and they're going into it with that recognition of, hey, you know, we kind of messed this up a little bit last time. Let's go into this aware that we need to bring more content to our console. And you know what? Nintendo, I think, has just been struggling lately in general with some of their marketing decisions and things like that. But the one thing that they do consistently, I feel, is they're really good at breaking new ground. Like, you know, I don't know that I could have told you this is what when it was just the NX before it was called the Switch. I don't know that I could have told you this is what it was going to look like. To think of having something that you can be playing a game, get home, plop it down in the docking station or whatever, and then keep playing it on your TV. Like that's a really cool feature. Now, we'll see how well that actually works. But the point being is that Nintendo hasn't really been afraid to, tread new territory and try something new. And I think that this really kind of speaks to a lot of gamers' needs and wants, because it fulfills that mobile desire without having like, a quote unquote mobile quality game. You get a full console level of games and graphics.
Mm-hmm. And we'll definitely have to see what the hardware turns out like, because that has been another complaint about some of the Nintendo consoles over the years, is that technologically speaking and just hardware specs speaking, they do lag behind the PlayStation and the Xbox in that sense. So I'm not sure what the Nintendo Switch is going to be like, but we'll see kind of what quality of games it can play and how modern of games it can play as well.
Yeah, and Nintendo again is they're not someone that really pushes the boundary in terms of graphics and things like that. So no, the Switch is not going to be one of those consoles that's like 4K craziness or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And I think that's okay because we've kind of gotten to the point where we're okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm definitely okay with that.
Yeah, we don't necessarily expect that from Nintendo. We kind of expect something new and different and unique, and I think that the Switch definitely delivers that. That being said, I don't know how confirmed this is, but there is an NVIDIA GPU that'll be a part of the hardware for the Switch. I think it's the Tegra or something, one of their new graphics cards. I don't know how confirmed that is or anything, but so there, at least to know that it'll hopefully be able to hold up, both for TV and for on the screen itself.
Yeah, I mean, I for one am not going to be ever really complaining about, the next big AAA game not being on the Switch. Like that's definitely not what I'm expecting out of it. But it just will be interesting to see what it has on it, especially given that they've teased the possibility that games like Skyrim could be on it. So, it seems like there's a lot of other options for what they can bring in, but we just really aren't going to know until we get there.
Yep. And the release date for the Switch is March sometime. I don't think there's a specific day, but March 2017 is the fabled release date. And, I'm excited about the Switch. I don't think I'm going to go out and buy it right away, because the rumor is that the new Legend of Zelda game releases alongside the Switch. So I'm probably just going to get that for my Wii U so I can sink my teeth into it right away. That's what I'm excited about. Let's be real.
Do we know what the price is going to be around? Do we have any idea?
There's no confirmed pricing. There's guesstimates and theories, but it'll probably be a $299, $399 bundle type of thing. Mm-hmm. It seems to be what people are figuring, but we won't know until they release more details about it. So.
Yeah, I didn't buy my PS4, so I have no idea what like that costs. But they're starting at $300 right now. I mean, it is a bit older.
Yeah, I think when it was first released, it was $400, but somewhere around there, it'll be decent. And another thing that I think about with this Switch is quality in terms of like sturdiness. Actually taking this screen out with you. That's one of the things that I've always been kind of nervous about. Is just, when you have a piece of hardware like for the Wii U, you break the gamepad, the Wii U kind of like is not very usable in the same regard.
Yeah.
And you have to go and buy a new one, and that's, basically 90% of the console right there. So I'm sure that they're building it well and building it right, but me being me, I'm nervous about that, but I always try and take good care of my stuff. So
yeah, and I think many gamers do, but there always are going to be those people who break it and then complain. But I think you always sort of just run that risk when you move from more of a console setup to a hybrid or mobile setup.
Yeah, especially. So it'll be interesting to see how the Switch kind of deals with that and bridging the gap between a console setup and a mobile setup, but it'll be pretty cool.
It's probably not something you can keep in your pocket, though.
No, it's a little big for that.
It might bend. It's interesting that, like, for so long, the push towards mobile was making things smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And then in the recent years, everything's just been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like phone screen size has like increased. Like the newer smartphones are massive compared to like, the original screen sizes, right? It's just funny.
You know that at one point there was a Game Boy Micro?
Really?
Yep. So the Game Boy Micro, I don't even know how I don't think I have one. I think I borrowed one from a friend or something, but it was the smallest thing in the entire world. When was it released? I don't even know. 2005 maybe. Let's see if I can find I don't know that I can find the dimensions for it, but it was like you could hold it in the palm of your hand. Like it would fit, the entire device would fit in the palm of your hand. And you'd slide a Game Boy Advance game in the bottom of it and play.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was the smallest thing ever. Oh, so it's 2 inches by 4 inches and 0.7 inches thick. Weighs 80 grams, according to Wikipedia.
That's fairly tiny. I mean, just the Game Boy Advance SP was pretty small, too.
Yeah. Oh, the Game Boy Advance SP was great because it had a backlit screen. I don't know how I survived playing my Advance with like the overhead clip-on light thing. Like, oh, you want to go on a car ride at night, or like you're going somewhere at night, sitting in the back seat trying to.
You
play.
Can dream.
Yeah.
You can dream. Yeah, definitely. When I got my SP, that made my teenage years for sure.
Yeah, and then you made my years when you gave me your SP, and I was able to play.
Oh, I totally did. Yeah.
I played Summon Nights again, I think. Yeah, that was the last game I played on it. I played back through. I was going to play Crystal version, but alas, the battery's dead, and I, can't be arsed to actually replace it because that requires effort. So I'll download an emulator instead.
And then start an entirely new file.
Yeah. Speaking of old stuff, we have our Marshmallow Combat nostalgia trip.
Oh, yeah. Marshmallow Combat.
So way back when, and by way back when, I mean some number of years ago. Help me. How many years?
Greater than 1 years.
Greater than 1 years. At least 10 years, maybe more years. We're not sure. We have our top scientists and experts figuring out exactly how many years.
It's an important question.
They'll call your people.
And then those people will call some other people, and they'll call like a third set of people, and there'll just be this massive like phone conversation going on. So somebody will figure it out some way.
Somewhere along the line. Somewhere. So MDuel, or Marshmallow Duel, was this DOS game that did you get it in like that pack of random games on that disc?
Yeah. I think I originally got that pack when I was visiting my grandparents in Florida when it must have been like 8 or 9.
Nice.
And it was this bundle of 10,000 games. I think it was what it was called. Came in like 2 or 3 CDs, and there were just 10,000 games. And so we spent hours and hours and hours just going through all of these random games. A lot of them were like some combination of like freeware or like, demoware kind of thing. And there were some really, really terrible games in there that we laughed about. And there were also some really interesting ones like Marshmallow Duel. What was Marshmallow Duel like?
So Marshmallow Duel is a platformer. I don't know that I would call it action game, but you basically, you're a colored robot. I think it was blue and purple were the main colors. And you climb up rope and you jump across platforms and you get items like guns and there's like a lightning bolt and other things. And your objective is to, defeat the other person, which either involves shooting them or waiting for them to accidentally fall into the pit, which the pit below the platforms was marshmallow goop.
Yep.
Why? It beats me. But
who knows?
So it was a local play, someone plays on WASD, the other person plays on the arrow keys or something.
Like, I think IJKL.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
back in the day.
Yeah. It was cramped at the keyboard, but just so much laughter ensued from it. And
and the main mechanic was not even just the items, just smacking into each other. The robots would like bounce off each other and do this weird like flaily animation. You could like take a knee and the other person would like trip and go flying over you and then like bounce off the walls or do whatever. So it was shove and shoot and just kind of do whatever to get the other person in the goop, and then you won the round.
And then just 3 rounds or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was best of 3.
That's awesome. Yeah, and the best part was the game was super polished, and by super polished I mean sometimes you fell through platforms.
Yes.
Sometimes the lightning bolt would crash to desktop game. So I think
Lightning bolt.
That was like a real problem for a while there. The lightning bolt would actually crash, and we were like, "Hey, you can't get the lightning bolt because the game's gonna crash."
Was it when we both got the lightning bolt that it was crashing? I think that was what it was.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. The lightning bolt is the most unfair item in the game because it's just you become invincible, and
you automatically kill the other player.
Yeah, you just have to touch them. So it becomes this like tag game. I guess it's not super unfair because there have been times that I recall where I had the lightning bolt and I fell in the goop. But you try and tag the other person. I think you can
still get shot.
Oh, you can get shot with lightning?
Maybe. I don't remember. It's been a long time.
That would make it a little more balanced, I suppose. The gun was actually probably the best item. Maybe the gun was more unfair just because you get the gun, and then as long as they're on the same level of platforms as you just shoot and then they die. Could you duck under the bullets?
I think so.
Oh.
Yes, there's a lot of like skill-based mind games going on. This is a very like early esports level kind of title here.
Oh my goodness, that would be the most entertaining. I would pay to go to that event and just watch
MDuel
people
LCS?
competitive. Yeah, please. Can that be a thing?
Yes.
Oh man, so great.
Clearly, this means that we just need to remake this game. Find out if it's like still like trademarked or something like that, or just make a clone.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually, in preparation for the podcast, I was looking into MDuel a little bit, and I saw on their website in 2013. MDuel was released onto the Xbox Live Arcade, which was kind of news to me. I assumed that it had just stopped existing.
I think disappeared into the internet ether.
Yeah, it was like around 2005 or 2006, I think, that there was like it was a free version which had a limited amount of items and whatnot, and then there was a paid version or whatnot, and the developers released the full version and were just like, here, play with everything, have fun. There were a bunch of other items that I don't even remember because we didn't get to play with that as much as we did the free version that came on the 10,001 games disc.
On my Windows 95 PC my room.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Those were the times.
Those were the times. I remember there was another game on the disc that was called, it was AGF, right?
AGF, yeah.
AGF. I don't know what AGF stands for. I have tried to search and find this game to no avail. MDuel I found, it still like exists and has a website. You can look that up, and you can also play it using an emulator like DOSBox or something. But AGF was a top-down shooter game where you're like in a spaceship and you fly around and you shoot people and you get power-ups and things, and it was pretty cool. I don't remember it as much, but I just remember it was one of the ones we enjoyed playing.
Mm-hmm. I remember a couple of unique details about it. The first was that your like shot power and your health and shields were all the same bar. So when you fired your weapon, it actually reduced your current health, which would constantly recharge. Oh. So if you like tried to play really offensively and you were like shooting a bunch, someone could come behind you and snipe you and kill you really quickly.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, which made it kind of interesting because there were different classes of ships. Like there was like a bomber, and like some smaller, faster, lighter ships with less powerful weapons. But the bomber could shoot these really powerful shots, but it would take almost all of their shields. So you had to be very smart about like where and when you would pick your fights. The game also had a pretty cool level editor. I remember that we messed around with that a lot. You could make your own maps, and it was all tile based. So you just select what you wanted on a tile. Do you want a wall here? Do you want like just floor or whatever? You could put like water. You could do a lot of different stuff. But this game must have come out like mid 90s. It was very, very early on. But I definitely remember those two unique features were the things that stuck out to me about it.
Man, that's awesome for it to have a level editor. I forgot about that, but I mean, me, I love editing levels.
Oh, yeah.
Dang, now that makes me want to find the game even more. But like Google searching AGF, I turned up nothing. I haven't looked for a while, but I assume that it's lost out there in the ether somewhere. There is a site that popped up. I don't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it lets you play old DOS games in your web browser. and MDuel's on there, but AGF sadly was not.
I think we tried it and it just didn't function very well. MDuel, that is.
Yeah, I had to download it to actually get it to play pretty well. You know what would be really great is if we could get some sort of like LAN capabilities with MDuel. That would be cool. Or so just you could play it through some virtual network or something cross.
Yeah, that might be challenging.
Oh, but that'd be so cool. Then you could play MDuel again, back in the glory days.
Yes.
Back in the marshmallow combat pits of
marshmallows. The marshmallow combat pits of marshmallows, yeah.
It's a marshmallow combat world that we live in. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. That's a Christmas song. This is Halloween.
Yeah. This is all about spookiness right now.
Spooky, be spooky. Be very, very spooky. Spooky, man.
Speaking of spooky, didn't you have a spoopy story to talk about?
Oops. Oh, yeah. So
swoop.
Let's get into the haunted section of the podcast. Really, it's just an excuse for me to laugh. But so I was trying to think of spooky stories, and I live a pretty basic, average, simple, uneventful life. But I did recall.
So basic.
Yeah, I did recall an event that occurred to me at my university, my sophomore year. It was actually, I don't know if it was Halloween night, but it was in this season. It was near the end of October. Things were getting kind of spooky, whatnot. And was out for a walk at night, and it had to have been like 10, maybe 11 at night, just because it was late, and dark, and that's when you want to go for a walk around the spooky season, because of course. And the main building on campus was like, there's some lights that get left on, and one of the rooms that had lights left on, as we were walking like kind of past it, there was a bunch of lights in this room that started flickering. And like, okay, wow, flickering creepy. Lights. Yeah, like big deal. But so there's some context to this. It was on the 4th floor of this building, and supposedly the 4th floor of this building is haunted. It's haunted because there was someone who died tragically in an event. They were cleaning the windows or repairing the windows, and they fell off of scaffolding. And it's a tragic story. They were young, but the fallout from that is that, the 4th floor is haunted, and there's spooky things that happen and whatnot. So this being on the 4th floor, of course, added into the spookiness. Now, flickering lights, okay, whatever, that happens. And I'm not an electrician, but I've never seen lights flicker this way before in a way that felt unnatural. I think when lights flicker, they're going to all kind of go at a normal flickering rate. But there were 4 lights that were visible, and all of them were flickering at different rates and different intensities, and not just like on and off, but like really bright and then dimming down and then coming back up and then all independently of each other, and it just was going.
Because that's not creepy at all.
And it was just like, what is this? What is happening? So I actually have a 10-second video that I got of it on my phone that I'll link in the description of the podcast, just because it's one of those things that is it's pretty creepy. And going even beyond that, so I had a friend who was one night in a different event studying on the 4th floor, and in the little like study nook area, they noticed that the lights behind them were flickering, and they turned around to look, and the lights stopped flickering. And then they turned back to go back to studying, and then after a little bit, the lights started flickering again, and they would turn, and then it would stop. And so they used their phone and were filming with like, the front-facing camera themselves and the lights flickering behind them, and how when they turned to look at the lights, they stopped flickering.
Oh, that's so creepy.
Unfortunately, I don't have access to that video, but I mean, it comes from a fairly reliable source, and it just adds into the creepiness of it all.
Spooky.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the extent of my spookiness.
I live a very unspoopy life, but I have had some flickering light encounters, mostly towards the end of last year. Between like August and October, I was working about 6 or 7 miles away from where I lived, and I didn't have a car, so I biked to work. And where I worked had evening meetings that went sometimes kind of late to like 6 or 6:30, and so in October in California, it can get kind of dark around 6:30 or 7. It took me about 45 minutes to bike back home. So for several weeks, I was biking right during that like twilight area, where the sun's just going down and it's starting to get dark and everything's kind of creepy. That's definitely like the creepy time, right? And so right as the street lights would start to come on, there was this one section where there was like no street lights for maybe 200, 300 yards. And then there was one. And this one, for whatever reason, it would turn off. And then I would ride my bike. And as soon as I got within range of it, it would start flickering. And then as soon as I left, it would stop flickering, kind of like the story you were saying. And it happened almost every time I rode my bike by. Huh. And
So is this like a Narnia lamppost kind of thing, just out in the middle of nowhere, sort of out of place?
Yeah, there was a portal to another dimension behind it. That's where I get my hookups,
Nice. It's important. It's important to know these things. So if I'm ever, in SoCal, I know where to go.
I mean, it was just like a normal street light, but I don't know why there wasn't anything else around it. It was this kind of strange curvy hill, and it was just around one point of the bend. There was a street light.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that would be unnerving, especially at that time of night when it's like threatening to be really dark. And usually I feel like the air kind of gets quiet around twilight,
Mm-hmm.
Like there's less animal noises and stuff. I don't know about city bustle, but
Well, on that road, it's funny because there's sometimes a lot of cars. And then for whatever reason, a lot of the time that I went by that one particular curve in the road, there would never be anybody because, of course, things just work out like this, right? That's how life works.
That's how it works when you're around.
So it just added to the spook factor of like, oh, now there's no one around.
Yeah,
great. I'm gonna die.
This is it. This is my end. It's you and me, streetlight. Do or die.
In a battle between me and the streetlight, I'm not sure who wins, considering that it's inanimate.
Well, I mean, you throw the first punch, you're gonna break your fist. Like it's got really high defense.
Even the second punch.
Yeah, even the second punch. I don't know what it would do. It just stands there. I don't know.
But I guess if it actually was haunted, then all bets are off, because then whatever poltergeist was inhabiting the lamppost could then just inhabit my brain.
Yeah, I suppose so. Does that work? Do poltergeists inhabit brains?
They do now.
They do now.
Because I said so.
This just in. Poltergeists inhabiting humans' brains. More 11.
Only for $2.99.
Only for $2.99?
Yeah. For the next 3 days.
Buy now.
Buy now, get one for the rest of your life.
Supplies are limited. Buy your creepy flickering street light and put it outside your neighbor's house, so they'll never want to leave their house ever again. That's how you build community, right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually one of the cool things about Halloween is kind of seeing the different decorations that go up. There's some houses around that really they go all out. I've seen there's one house nearby that has its windows boarded up and it says do not enter dead inside, and there's cobwebs and just all kinds of cool things. And then sometimes you just get the classic orange lights and whatnot, but those are always fun to see.
Yeah, just people's decorations in general are really crazy cool, for any kinds of holidays, but Christmas decorations and stuff like that too. I'm always really interested to see the amount of effort that people put into decorating their house and their lawn and their yard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money though.
It's a lot of money.
I can't afford that.
Yeah, and time too, just to set all of that up, especially if you have tall trees or any, big shrubbery, whatever that you want to put lights into, or even along the eaves of the house. Oh man. So that's a lot of dedication, but I mean, that's what you do for the seasonal stuff.
Yeah, everyone likes their seasonal swag, and especially if it's in game too.
Yeah, so seasonal content in game, I think that's always been a big thing to some extent once you started getting big multiplayer games and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I sort of go back and forth with my interest in it. But for some reason, I got kind of hooked on it this go around. So in October, there's Overwatch and Rocket League. Both are doing Halloween special items that you can unlock and get, and I gotta say, it made me want to play the games more.
Yeah.
What do you think about seasonal in-game items?
I like it. Obviously my first experience with it, I think, was playing WoW back in the day. they had all sorts of like holiday events and different items that you could get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's cool, to have these like special skins for like online games or special items that, you can only get during a certain week, or, like during Halloween, during Christmas, during any other whatever holiday you're talking about. It's cool that it becomes sort of this rare item, that you could only have gotten if you were there at that particular point in time. And I know people get salty about that. They're like, oh, well, but now this skin exists and I can never have it, even though I want to buy it. But I think that's part of what makes it cool, is that you do have something that's more unique, or at least more rare, and reflects like the experiences that you've had with the game, as opposed to just getting the same generic stuff as everyone else,
Yeah. I think that I've definitely been in the camp of, wow, this is so cool. I wish that, I had this sort of content. I think my first exposure to quote unquote seasonal items, or, limited time items in game, was actually in RuneScape. One of the big things that they had in RuneScape back in the day were these party hats.
Oh, yeah.
It was the stupidest thing ever. It's literally just like a paper crown. But because they were in existence so early on in like the RuneScape days, they're really, really rare. And so they're worth a lot of money. In-game money, of course. But
like millions.
Yeah. And they're tradable, which later down the road, they made it so that holiday items weren't tradable. And I just remember, being younger, I was like, wait, so I have all these cool, unique items now that I'm playing the game, but I can't like save them and make any money off them later down the line. That was kind of a bummer. But I think that I think that that's kind of good if they don't create this like weirdness in the game economy, especially for like MMO types of games. Being able to sell or trade limited content like that for seasonal things, I think is a little, I don't know. I think that makes it more of an issue. But if it's the kind of thing where like, hey, you're there, you did the stuff to get the items, like, cool, now you've got this seasonal swag that you can kind of have and show off and whatnot. So
yeah, I think like the RuneScape party hats thing, it's one of those things that could only really have happened like it did in that way,
Yeah.
I do kind of agree that it can screw with an in-game economy when you're talking about like an MMO type game. But at the same time, I do see that there's kind of this cool appeal to having these rare items that, you can't get anymore, that sort of just get traded around the community and passed down to people who maybe weren't even there when the items were released originally. Like, I think there's definitely like a cool in-game history that gets developed and built there.
That's true.
I think, talking about WoW again, that one of the things I somewhat disliked about the way its economy worked was that so many of the items weren't tradable, like so much of the equipment. And I know that like there were lots of game design reasons why they did it that way, but I do kind of miss that element in some other ways. It's just kind of an interesting contrast how things have changed over the years now, especially because when we're talking about these holiday items, there's now so many more of them in a lot of these games that maybe it wouldn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and not only are there so many more of them, but every game and their mother's son is having seasonal items, because not only is it a cool, fun thing to kind of put in the game, but it's also a really, really great opportunity to draw in more players and to get more people playing the game. And especially if you kind of tie in some sort of monetary aspect to it. Like, for instance, I know the mobile game Puzzle and Dragons does this a lot with seasonal events, is they take monsters that are already in the game and they make them, Halloween themed, and it's basically just different skills and different art. But you have to play the lottery machine, so you get like these magic stones in the game that you can sort of roll to get more monsters, but you can also buy more, so it kind of creates this more of an incentive to spend money for the game, I think. And Pokemon Go, while they don't have special items, they started doing like get double the candy and find more ghost Pokemon as a way to get people re-engaged with the game. And I have to say that for Pokemon Go, at least, it really worked for me too. I was like, oh, cool, I can find more ghost Pokemon. Like, I'm going to play the game more actively as opposed to just, flipping around to hit a Pokestop or whatever every now and then.
Right. Yeah, I had almost completely stopped playing. I launched it up last night because we were at a Halloween party and we wanted to take a picture with augmented reality on.
Oh, nice.
But we didn't actually end up finding any Pokemon where we were, so we couldn't.
Oh, but that's also, that goes along, because what was your costume?
I was Ash and my girlfriend was Pikachu.
Best ever. Like 10 out of 10. top-notch quality there. It was great. But I think with in-game content items that are seasonal, some of the time I feel like they get a little too like gimmicky, sort of. Maybe that's not quite the right word, but it's a little too pandering to the season. Oh, look, there's like a skeleton item. Oh, look, there's a whatever item. Have all this stuff that is seasonal, and
Yeah.
like it can be cool, but at the same time, it's like, okay, how much of this is cool because we want to give the players cool, unique, limited items, and how much of it is like
Just more marketing.
Yeah, let's throw something together so we can get more people playing the game, more eyes on the game, and all.
And
that
especially
sort of
when like the seasonal content is like very heavily monetization focused.
Yeah.
I definitely get that sense from it too, and I get less enthusiastic in those cases about it. Definitely.
Yeah, but for games like Overwatch and Rocket League, or Rocket League especially, you just play the game and you get items every now and then. Overwatch, when you level up, you get a loot box.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's important then, like the key is that you do have an element of the seasonal content that is available to players who don't want to pay extra money, especially if you have a game that like isn't even subscription based and is just like you purchase the game at the start, like Overwatch. If you had to pay to access the seasonal content just on a baseline, I think that would really suck, and a lot of players would feel very unhappy about that.
Yeah, that would be pretty frustrating. But I think Overwatch actually does a really good job of kind of blending the two, because
definitely.
You can buy loot boxes if you want to, but you also get them fairly easily. Like you level up decently quick in the game, especially if you're playing with friends. So, and you're guaranteed at least one seasonal item in the loot boxes. So, the option is there if you want to throw your money at them, but at the same time, you also don't have to, and you still have access to the items, which I think that's a pretty good way of sort of splitting the difference.
Yeah. I do kind of agree with the earlier point you were making, though, that in some ways, I keep talking about like oversaturation, but I feel like this is another thing that kind of has that element to it where, like you're saying, since all of these games, or so many multiplayer games, have seasonal content, have seasonal items, it just, you get this wash of stuff like every few months. And in that sense, it kind of loses its value. Like, we're talking about the RuneScape party hats. Like, it was so cool that they were so rare. If you had one, it was a status symbol because you knew that not very many people had it. Whereas these days, it's just like, oh, well, this is a cool item, but everyone and their mother has one. So it doesn't have that same personal value, right?
Yeah.
Everyone and their mother, everyone and their mother's son. It's just all these people.
All of these people and all of these family relations. Your second cousin's best friend, Bob. Like, I don't even know who he is, but somehow he has the item too.
And then his BFF, Jill.
Yeah. And then his dog. His dog, like, was on the computer the other day. And now he's got the holiday Halloween skull mask outfit shenanigans too. Everyone.
That's definitely a spooky story.
A dog on the computer.
Yeah, there's a meme, isn't that the I have no idea what I'm doing?
Isn't it? That's a scientist dog, I think.
Oh, yeah.
He's in a lab and he's like, I have no, actually, oh my goodness, is it a lab?
I'm pretty sure he is a lab. That would make sense. A+. You just understood like so, a very, very old meme. Congratulations.
Imagine like a fish, like a decently sized like
imagine
salmon
a fish.
Or silver salmon. Imagine like it being held by the tail, and then imagine it just being smacked across your face. That's what it just feels like for me to finally get that pun. Just fish smack right across the face.
Specifically a fish.
Specifically a fish, because it makes that, very distinct slapping noise that like anything else wouldn't.
One of my favorite Monty Python skits is actually called the fish slapping dance.
Perfect.
It involves one guy with a small fish just like slap, 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 slap the other guy. And he's holding this like giant bass or something. And after about 30 seconds, he just like wails on him and he like knocks him off the screen, I think.
Nice. Maybe that's where I got it from. I don't know that I've seen that, but definitely I have this very distinct like fish slapping noise in my mind that I want to convey when my face has been hit across with
fish slap face palm head desk?
Fish slap face desk palm head. Gone. Just gone. Replaced with a jack-o'-lantern.
A BB-8 jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah. That was also cool. I didn't carve a pumpkin this year. I haven't carved a pumpkin for a while. And here's the thing. I'm not against carving pumpkins. I think it's really cool. I used to love doing it. The thing that I struggle with pumpkin carving is maybe it's just me being a perfectionist, but it takes me like 12 years to carve a pumpkin. You get all the guts scooped out, and then you like get it cleaned in the inside, and that's, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And then you start carving. And I don't know if I just am bad or what, but I've done a simple face on a pumpkin, nothing extravagant, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth with like the jagged teeth. And at 4 or 5 hours I will spend on the stupid face. And it just like, I get kind of frustrated.
I think that's just pumpkin
it.
carving. It just takes a long time.
But like these people who are able to do these amazingly sculpted pumpkins, and you've got like the, the shading where they like peel off some of it so some of the light comes through and all of that. Oh man, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous art, and I appreciate it and enjoy it. I just,
You're a nub.
I'm nub. I'm nub at pumpkin carving.
You're a tiny babby nublet.
A tiny babby nub needs to take pumpkin carving 101. 404 pumpkin carving skill not found. Please retry later.
So, given that, we're in this Halloween season, there's lots of spooky and scary things going on. So we were thinking about talking about scary games and what makes games scary.
Yeah. What does make games scary?
Spookiness.
Spookiness?
Very clearly.
Spookiness?
That's the best description.
And also the scariness. Both of those together make a game
spookiness
scary.
And scariness? Oh my.
Yeah, it's a lot, but I think you can handle it. I think you'll be
I can't handle it. I can't hold all these spookiness.
Yeah, well, we went for different meme things there. That's fine.
We're memeing a lot today.
Yeah, whatever.
Filthy memer.
So, scary games are an interesting thing. It kind of goes along with like scary movies. I personally, I have a love-hate relationship with scary movies because on the one hand, like they're kind of fun. Obviously, if you're watching them with other people, but on the other hand, the thing that I don't like is I don't care for jump scares. And I think some people agree with me on that, and some people are like, jump scares are great. But I like, the thing that works for me in terms of scary is like the psychological aspect of it, like the suspense and the not knowing what's going to happen and all of that, as opposed to like a thing popping up and scaring you. There was a movie, actually, I think it was Insidious 2 or something, where there's a scene and they're coming down the stairs and all of these children's toys just fly everywhere. And I jumped, like in the theater, I jumped. I was like, oh God, children's toys, this is terrifying. And then like not 30 seconds later, the creepy like head figure thing, it like goes wha-bam and like appears like above the shoulder of the character. And I didn't move. I didn't flinch. The children's toys flying about the room scared me more than like this demented, like, creepy woman
jump scare,
face.
Yeah, I think for some of that, it's that, when movies or game developers try and make things like scary and it's not a jump scare, it's sometimes over the top, like you lose a little bit of immersion. I think that's the struggle that I have with a lot of horror movies, is that I struggle to get immersed in them. Like I struggle to find the world believable and like kind of get engaged with the story. And so then I don't get that like psychological creep factor because I'm not engaged with the story, right? So at that point, you really can only do jump scares, I feel like. Whereas, I think one of my favorite horror games is Amnesia. And there's a couple different reasons why. I think the first is that, the monster gives you this sense of dread because like you can't do anything about it. Like you just have to run and hide and it's going to find you. Like if you're unfamiliar with Amnesia, you're exploring this mansion and you have to figure out all these puzzles and stuff like that. But there's also this monster that's chasing you, and in other horror games, there's somewhat of a combat focus, like all the zombie games, obviously, I know like Dead Space, all these games have very much of a combat element. Amnesia doesn't really have a combat element. You can't fight this monster. It's just going to kill you. Like there's really not much you can do about that if you want to fight it. And I that's an aspect of it that I really like. And for me, adds to like kind of that psychological thrill, right? Because, you're trying to solve these puzzles, you're trying to advance in the game, and you have this impending doom always following you, always after you, around every corner. Like
you can't do anything about. Like you just know that it's there. You don't know when it's going to show up, but it's looming and you're trying to do stuff at the same time.
And it can jump scare you. Yeah, sure. You open a door and it's right there and you get freaked out. And like, that's a jump scare, but that's a jump scare that's like set up to be more impactful because of, you're nervous every time you open a door. You can get jump scared by nothing being there. And like, to me, that's what is like the true horror element.
It needs to get in your head.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm getting. And I think I agree with that. You have to, it has to worm its way in there by saying like, you're in this environment, you have to do these things, and also something is following you. I think that just kind of taps into a very, human thing as well, as like being followed or being stalked. Like we're always very nervous about that kind of thing. I mean, I've been driving home before and had a car behind me for a little bit longer than expected, and I'm like, okay, is this car following me? Like, I don't know what's going on, and then they turn. But to have that looming sense of, anything could happen at any moment and you can't do anything about it, I think that's one of the things that is interesting. And by taking away that combat element of the game and taking away that ability to kind of fight back, your only method of combating it is to hide or to run. And I haven't played Amnesia. It's been on my list. I'm going to be honest. I tried to play it and I got stuck on the first puzzle and I just haven't gone back to actually figure out the first puzzle. Like I haven't even met the monster yet. It's like the tutorial. I don't know, whatever. But if I'm remembering correctly, you also like when you're hiding and you're in the dark, can't you like go?
You go insane. Yeah.
So like you have to have your lantern on every now and then so you don't just like totally go insane as well. So that's another aspect of it, which, oh man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I think the other element that's important too is that, the fact that you have a goal, you have to figure something out. It's not just the goal is to kill the monsters.
Right.
And because like you're trying to accomplish this other thing, and then the horror, the fear, the insanity, the monster is this obstacle kind of always being in your way. I think it just like it builds and builds and builds the tension.
So in that way, it lends itself as a survival game, really. Maybe not survival in that, you have to eat food to stay alive, but your mission is to get out and live, because you can't combat the monster, you can't combat the evil. Your goal is survival. And that's kind of interesting to think about, like the horror game as survival as opposed to, I don't know.
Well, yeah, when you think about like a lot of the horror movie lore, that is a very important element. When you think about it, it's all about, we need to escape this place where we're trapped in with the monster. And and obviously, there's a lot of different ways that that's implemented, but I think that is like kind of like a fundamental trope that's used.
Right, except for the horror films where the thing is haunting the house, and instead of leaving the house, the people stay there and try to like figure it out. But then again, people are just dumb.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny because I've never really been a big fan of horror movies. And haven't played a ton of horror games, but like Amnesia has really stuck with me. I don't even think I finished the game. Like I got really creeped out. I should go back and try playing it. Maybe it's something I should do on stream.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. I've been wanting to stream Amnesia as well, or just play it. I don't want to play it by myself because here's my thing. Playing a scary game like that's cool. I kind of enjoy the thought of that, but I don't want to play it on my own because then if I get scared, no one benefits. Like I'm scared and I'm like, ooh, that was cool, I got scared, but no one's there to like laugh at me. They're like, you got scared, like what? Or there's some sort of sense of camaraderie that comes with being scared. So I want to play Amnesia. I might end up streaming it, but at some point playing it with my girlfriend and us just kind of like maybe trading back and forth, or just I feel like that would be a pretty fun thing to do, to have somebody else along there having that experience with you and being scared with you or laughing at you when you get scared at something silly.
That's funny because I think that my first experience with Amnesia was actually watching someone else play it.
Oh, yeah.
It was like they were playing and like 4 or 5 people were just sitting around on the couch watching them. I actually really enjoy playing games in that way, which is unsurprising, now that we're in kind of this streaming world. But
right.
I really like the local aspect of that too. Like you're hanging out with your friends and like somebody's playing, maybe even a single player game. We've done that with like the Dark Souls series and Bloodborne.
It's fun. And especially, knowing the people that are there. I remember one Halloween season, it might have been my freshman year at college, but a group of us all put ourselves in a study room, turned out the lights, and had a projector, and we're playing Slenderman.
Oh, that's cool.
But we were kind of like taking turns, but a couple people did it where one person was using the mouse and the other person was moving around with like WASD. I think that we were getting that. I think Rooster Teeth did a video like that or something, but it's just, it was so entertaining because when one person freaks out, it's like, no, run straight, no, go the other way. And they're like turning around. And so then that adds another like layer of it. But also, yeah, I remember my first exposure to Five Nights at Freddy's, which has just become this huge sensation over the last couple years.
Oh yeah,
was I was watching a stream of it, and of course I was watching the stream late at night, probably around the Halloween season. Maybe, I'm not sure when it was. Maybe it wasn't around the Halloween season, but it was unnerving. Like, I don't know if I would get as freaked out playing it, but watching it was like, I felt so tense, and I was like, oh my goodness, what's happening? Oh, the duck man is gone. He's running down the hallway or whatever. Like, it's such a stupid, simple design.
Given that I've never played Five Nights at Freddy's, that sounded really silly. The duck man is gone.
So Five Nights at Freddy's is you're the security guard at this like essentially Chuck E. Cheese type of place, I think. And so there's a bunch of animatronics around, and the animatronics come to life at night, and you have a limited supply of like power, and you have to close the doors to the security place when they come around so that they don't like I think the story behind it is they want to create you into an animatronic as well. So they basically would like take you apart and stuff you into a machine. So AKA kill you. But
right.
I that's the story I get from it that I can recall. And I mean, the gameplay is pretty minimal from the first one, at least. I don't know what the other games are like. There's like 3 or 4 of them now.
Yeah, it's become super massive.
Yeah, and like I go into Hot Topic and there's Five Nights at Freddy's stuff. Like FNAF is just a big thing.
Yep.
That it has its own acronym.
Yeah, I know of it more from like the post-memeage land than from actually the game.
Yeah.
Post-memeage land. That's a good word.
So we've talked about jump scares and some of the like psychological aspects of what makes a game scary, but I think other things that make a game scary has a lot to do with the sound effects and the music and sort of the ambient noise that kind of goes along with it. You know, you get that very classic thing in horror films when you've got that like ooh kind of like synth organ whatever the heck that is. Yeah, you know the ooh you know you
yeah
me. Yeah.
And a Wii U.
Ooh, yeah. The thing with the sound effects is that sometimes they're really overt and like there's the loud, sudden jarring noises. So like I opened the door, there's a like scary monster face right there, and you get the bang, like really aggressive, angry, like strings, tension, scary happening all at once. And that goes right along with the jump scare, of course. But I think also something that really ties into it is just the subtlety of it, like a low droning, bassy, like kind of noise.
Mm-hmm. Just adds all this like tension and
yeah. But I don't know. What have you had experiences with like sound effects or music that kind of make something feel tense or unsettling or kind of creepy or spooky?
Definitely the original Left 4 Dead, when I first started playing it, was something I noticed about it a lot, because all the different enemy types had their own unique sound cues and music cues that would play. And because they had this AI director system that would kind of manage the game for you, it was different. And so you kind of, it clued you into what you were about to face, but it also added to the tension and kind of just like added this ambiance in as well, especially as you like started to learn like, oh, I know what this means.
So then that's like music and audio cues for like when the tank or something comes along.
Yeah, all the different enemy types.
Yeah.
I think there were cues for a lot of different stuff. I think it became a little bit more obvious in Left 4 Dead 2. I recall, I may be totally wrong, that it was slightly more subtle in Left 4 Dead 1. But I definitely I do like it when it is subtle. And I think for me, subtlety adds a lot more to the creepy and scary factor than like, you know, jump scares like we're talking about.
Yeah. And a lot of times is having a slight dissonance in just an ambient sort of layering, you know, not even necessarily music, but just that atmospheric track that's playing, really can be unsettling. And I think creepy music too, of course, goes along with it pretty well. There's a lot of creepy music. One of my mystery sound segments, which you'll hear later, is very unsettling in a weird way that I think is kind of cool. But just to create music that is still musical but also unsettling is really a neat thing, I think. And I think it's a challenge too in the creation of it. But
do you remember which Pokemon game it was that had that really creepy music for the ghost town place? I'm really drawing a blank on like which version it was, but I remember it's become kind of this mimetic thing that this one particular town had this ambient music that was just super unsettling.
Was that Lavender Town?
I think so.
Yeah.
I was also just thinking about that because I remember like that so creepy. Just again, it's because that it has that slight dissonance in it that just gives you that tension. You feel it. Like you don't even really like fully consciously understand like why you're feeling tense, but you just feel it. Like, yeah.
As much as the presence of something spooky is important, so like, you know, you have the creepy music, I think sometimes having sparsity in the creepy music is also very important. So when music is like built in layers, a lot of times, it builds in intensity. You have like strings that go on top of it, and then you have like orchestra full, and then drums and whatnot like that. A lot of times having things that should be there that aren't can kind of be unsettling. So like if you have a bass line that is present and then goes away and then comes back at a weird moment to, unsettle and kind of create this sense of uncertainty.
Yeah.
I think that is something that really does a lot. I also think that silence is really powerful in creating unnerving situations. I don't know necessarily if it adds to the scary factor, but when I've noticed this in a few movies. I don't know that I've noticed it as much in games, but when you are specifically going through a movie or a game or whatever, and you hear music, you hear background sound, and then all of a sudden there's nothing.
Yeah, and then it goes away. You're just like, oh shit, what's about to happen?
And it really draws your attention back to the music and all of those sounds. So when they do come back in, they're that much more impactful. So whatever creepiness was happening that then stopped, when it comes back in, you're like, oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I know. I feel like that trope is used a lot in horror movies actually to set up jump scares. Like, you have sort of the creepy building the tension, and then like you drop out the sound and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then it's like you wait, like, and that timing really adds, like, then the tension just like escalates so much and then you break it.
Yeah.
So I guess to give jump scares a little bit more credit, I feel like that's just sort of how it works in that sense. Like you have to build that tension and you have to release it somehow. And I think that's what the jump scare is. It releases that tension so then you can kind of start to build it again, right?
Yeah. I
think where I struggle with a lot of horror movies is that sometimes they just have jump scares all over the place. And it's like, well, I wasn't really feeling the tension to begin with.
Yeah, again, with that saturation point, you're like, hey, this is the 15th jump scare. Like, give me something different, mix it up, add some variety.
Yeah, and that's why that, like that tension, those music cues where it's there and then it goes away, all those little things that add to the creep factor, that add to that feeling that something is just wrong. I think that is really kind of the meat of making something scary and creepy, because to end up at the end point of scaring somebody out of their seat, you kind of have to build them up to it.
Yeah, or, throw children's toys across the room, in my case.
I thought you were going to say throw children's toys at them.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, same sort of thing.
Take a Game Boy to the face.
I think that's a good point about this sense that something is wrong, and tying that into, like, what we expect from a situation, what we expect from, I guess, reality. And I think that it's less in terms of maybe sound, but it could apply to sound, is that, if you have a duck and it like growls, you're like, wait, that's weird. Like, why is this duck growling? But
yeah,
to kind of like, to set up that sense of something's wrong, I think that, that it borders kind of getting into like the magical realism sort of deal, but just like things that don't make sense get kind of unsettling, and maybe in less overtly humorous ways, like a growling duck. But I don't know, maybe in the context it's unsettling.
Right, yeah, it's all about context.
Yeah. So I think that that's also something that lends itself to scary games. And I don't play many horror games. You know, I haven't even done Amnesia. Slenderman was the big like sensation for a while, but that's fairly, you know, straightforward, and most people have heard of that, where you're walking around trying to get pieces of paper and you're being followed.
See, because I've actually never even really played it. I mean, I've heard of Slenderman, obviously, but the game itself I have almost no knowledge of.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of gameplay there. It just kind of created a thing. You walk around and you can't look at Slenderman when he gets near you, and if you do, then he like kills you.
I just think of the Enderman in Minecraft.
Well, I mean, that is
I know that
how they
they're
were
based off
named,
of
right?
Slenderman.
Yeah, but
It's funny how big just the Slenderman concept has become. Like, if you go through Greenlight, there are literally 10 million Slenderman game clones, and some of them use the name and some of them don't. Some of them like creepy, tall, thin man in a suit. It's like,
creepy, tall, thin man walks behind you at close proximity while making scary noises and trying to eat your face. Don't look at him. It'll be bad for your health.
But it's not Slenderman.
It's not. No. 100% not Slenderman. 100% original content.
OC.
And yeah, OC.
OGOC?
OGOC.
Would it really be a scary if he was Fat Man?
Okay, well, what about the boomer from Left 4 Dead?
Okay, well, the boomer's not scary. The boomer's definitely humorous.
Okay, well, I
guess he is scary, but
yeah.
But again, it's not that same like existential creep factor of having somebody like stalk you. It's very
Right.
It's so different.
And I guess that's probably just how different people react to different things. Some people are, you know, they vibe more off of that jump scare aspect, and I think, you know, obviously for us, that psychological, like we need to be kind of drawn into it and immersed in it to feel like it's that kind of connection to the unsettling and the like, whoa, what's going on? Things are getting creepy. Like, oh man.
I think, like you were saying, you know, with the sense that something's wrong, I feel like to set that up, you have to have that immersion, because then you set up the world, you know, your brain thinks, oh, the world, even this virtual, like, fantasy world works in this particular way. And then you start to mess with those rules a little bit.
Right.
And I think, like, that's kind of what the supernatural horror theme is about in some ways, is breaking those expectations of how the world should work. It's like, this is wrong. This shouldn't happen. This shouldn't happen like this. Like,
yeah, people shouldn't
this
be
isn't
able to
possible.
Crawl up a wall and onto a ceiling like upside down like that. That's not natural. You need to go see someone about that.
But if you get to
exercised.
But if you get to the point of like oversaturation in those supernatural things, like you lose that suspension of disbelief, right? You know, if everything's just flying everywhere, you're like, okay, well, that's just what's going on in this world. And like, you're like, okay, well, I'm not scared anymore because I've accepted that this is the reality.
It's just another Tuesday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I as you were talking about that, I was thinking kind of more along the lines of movies, but thinking about making a video game, like I feel like that is even more difficult because by nature, you know, there's a level of gameness that comes along with the video game. You know, you have to be able to play it. And so finding the line between you knowing you're playing a game and adding in some of that immersion and, you know, twisting some of those rules that the game has kind of set up for you, I think has a lot to do with pacing in more of a narrative story.
Yeah.
But a lot of the horror games or scary games that I see are there's not a lot of gameplay for the most part. Like it's you walk through these rooms, you do a thing, the floor falls out from underneath you, you slide down, the door closes, the window makes a noise. Like it's things that are happening to you in this environment. And I wonder, you know, how do we know, or how can we make a game that's scary that has gameplay content there that's not maybe playing off of like a zombie trope or a traditional thing that taps into the more psychological, you know, tension, suspense that we're looking for in a scary game.
Yeah, and like you're saying, I think the interactivity element is really important, because to like interact with the world in a certain way, you have to sort of accept the world as it appears and make decisions based off of that appearance, right? Like we're talking about Amnesia, you know, you have to navigate the mansion and you have to solve the puzzles within the mansion. And I think that like that creates buy-in, you know? Because you have to solve the puzzles, you're sort of tasked with figuring out how the world works. what's in it, what's in the mansion, what's in this room over here, and kind of understanding that and holding it in your mind, which like it sets it up.
That's a good point, because your mission, your end goal is to figure things out, and that's what that's what a puzzle is. So you're gonna have to get more invested in what's around you and your surroundings to explore and find that stuff out.
Which then allows for, the developer or the designer to add in those little elements of this is wrong and this shouldn't be like that, to then build, because even as you're delving deeper and deeper into trying to understand how things work, it makes less and less sense. And you also start to go insane. It's like that combination, I think, really adds to that creep factor.
I guess the thing that I've never fully understood, like when you really stop and think about it, like what is it with zombies? Like what is it with shooting zombies? Why is this a thing? Like, back from the first Call of Duty Zombies game, like I don't know that made it mainstream. The zombie thing was happening before that, but like why? Like why is this a thing that is so engaging in terms of like, it's survival, but it's killing undead, but they're undead, so they're dead. Like, why?
I mean, I think a lot of zombie lore, for the most part, it's a combination of a lot of, fantasies that are already somewhat popular. Like you have this post-apocalyptic theme, right? Especially in the zombie worlds where it's caused by a virus. Because obviously that's very common. Yeah. And obviously we're seeing in the past few years that, those post-apocalyptic settings are very popular and have their own appeal. So I think kind of the zombie setting, it's a combination of like body horror, you're going to be turned into this monster. It's not just this monster is a demon that was summoned from another plane. These used to be people, and this terrifying virus or other monster has turned these people into zombies. And so I think like there's that element of body horror to it. There's a post-apocalyptic element. Some of these people could have been your friends too. You've seen a lot of zombie movies that's a very common element, right? Is that there's the point where the member of the party turns, and there's always that very emotionally tense sequence there as well.
Yeah, I guess that's a important distinction to kind of make, is that are these back from the dead zombies, or are these virus zombies? Are they fast zombies? Are they slow like zombies? So kind of there definitely is, you're right, like these different avenues into which zombies can be a thing.
Yeah.
But it, for like a game like Left 4 Dead 2, I mean, it's kind of the survival aspect and the team camaraderie, like getting through and somehow maybe surviving this situation. Like you only have each other, and I think that's what a lot of zombie shows play off of. I haven't seen Walking Dead, but it's that same kind of thing. Like you're all you've got is these people around you. And
it is interesting that like, we're talking about how the zombie stories and movies have gotten so much more popular over the last several decades, but the undead zombies have not seen nearly as much growth as the virus zombies. I feel like the virus zombies are much more popular, or at least in a mainstream sense, like that kind of is what people think of as zombies. Whereas I know like traditionally the raised from the dead, like, crawling up out of the grave was kind of the original conception of a zombie. And I feel like that's much less common now.
I think maybe just the virus zombie is something that's increasingly plausible, with all of the craziness that's happening in either warfare or just biological shenanigans that are going on that we don't even know about. Like it could happen, I mean, maybe not in the way that it's depicted, but a mass virus or something that has that kind of effect, I think it taps into the reality a little bit more.
It's
so
like
people
just
are more
close enough to reality that people can, again, they can draw that connection and not feel like it's so far. And that's, like we're saying, it creates that connection, so it's easier to be immersed and be engaged.
So speaking of shooting zombies and stuff, we're going to be playing some Left 4 Dead 2 later today and streaming it on your Twitch channel.
That's right. Twitch.tv/Quactical.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's a little less relevant because this podcast isn't going to actually be released until Monday. But I mean, yeah.
Just, go ahead and hop in your time machine and jump back to Saturday, where we're actually recording this podcast, and come play with us.
Yeah, totally. But no, I mean, the streaming thing is something we're going to be trying to do a little bit more of as well going forward, being a little more consistent with it. And, we feel free to stop by and harass us or, laugh at us or just chill and hang out.
Well,
but we'll also
technically, given that we're not doing it at all, doing it at least once will be more consistent.
That's true. Starting is the beginning of
Being consistent.
Consistency. Yeah,
Exactly.
right. Exactly.
See, we're pros already.
Already can see the stars. The stars are lighting up for us. But yeah, so the Left 4 Dead 2 thing, we're gonna invite some people into play, and we'll do that as well, because I think that'd be fun to get a bunch of people that either listen to the podcast or are interested to play along with some games with us, and we can chat and have a good time. But that's what we're doing later on. But feel free to follow Quactical on his Twitch channel, or me, North Kozar, on my Twitch channel, if you're interested in any of that sort of stuff going forward.
Yeah.
There'll be some funs to be had.
Funs. Well, shall we move into our mystery sound game?
Mystery sound.
Spooky edition.
Spooky. Very spooky. Very sound. Much sound. Very spook.
Wow.
Yeah. This is.
Or I guess it would be very spooky, much sound. Boo.
Boo.
Some boo. Boo.
Some boo.
Boo
to you, I say, sir.
You suck. Boo.
Well, I mean, yeah. Sometimes that just happens.
Boy, I suck.
Okay, so there's now we have to tell the story.
Oh yeah, I guess that's my spooky story.
This is so important.
It was originally meant to be a spooky moment.
Oh god.
So I don't know. We must have been like 11 or 12 or something, and we were playing Dungeons and Dragons. And I was the game master, and I don't remember who else was in the party, but Kozar was definitely there. And they walked into this room, and behind a wall, there was supposed to be a secret door and a tunnel, which was basically supposed to have this, like, you know, wind tunnel that would suck them through to another section of the dungeon. But how I chose to describe it at that moment, which was, you know, became mimetic for us, was, you know, you walk into the room, and from behind this wall, you hear a sucking sound. And one of the players goes, "Boy, I suck. Boy, I suck. Boy, I suck." and we have never forgotten that moment.
Never forget the "boy, I suck" moment. you hear a sucking sound. Boy, I suck. I don't even know why. I mean, I don't even know if that's actually a funny story outside of being there. But oh man, yep. Well, I feel like we'll have a number of those moments where
we tell an us meme.
We yeah, one of our mimetic shenanigans between the two of us comes up as it does, and then we get to share the story behind it. There's more. I can already think of at least two or three others that
there's more.
I'm sure will come up. Yeah.
But wait, how much does your butt weigh?
Subscribe now, and you'll get more mimetic
shenanigans,
shenanigans, and
stuff.
Yes, stuff. The best stuff. Only the best. Tune into gaming. Only the best content on the podcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Good. Mystery sound.
Spooky. Okay, wait. Who's going first? So we've got. Well, here I'll just, because mystery sound segment. We've each picked 3 sound effects or music samples from a game or whatever. Well, yeah, from a game, not whatever. To give to the other, and these are games that we know the other has played. We don't know what they are yet. So I'll get one from Quactical, and I'll have to guess what it is, and vice versa. So...
All right, so who's starting? You?
I don't know.
Okay, let's do one of your sounds first.
Okay, so I'm going to play my first sound clippy here. Mystery clip number 1.
Numero uno. Oh man, that is very unsettling. Is that the one you were talking about earlier?
No, actually. But this is just
amazing.
This is going to be a great moment for anyone listening.
Is it the Lavender Town music?
Yeah, it is.
I was like, I really feel like I just talked about this.
We did. Yeah, you brought that up, and I was like, well, I can't not say that it's Lavender Town, even though that's the first clip that I picked. So. But yeah, it totally is just this haunting and unsettling thing. And I mean, you think about this was in red, blue, and yellow version. You think about Pokemon as this just like wholesome, yeah, Pokemon, go do the thing, use the Thunder Smash.
And then you get to
blah.
Lavender Town.
And it's dead Pokemon in a graveyard. Like, what? Pokemon can die? I thought they just fainted.
Yeah. That's like very existentially spooky. Like, we're talking about, they built up the idea of the world. It's this happy kids adventure, and now the Pokemon are dying.
Yeah, and you literally, like, you come through a cave to get to Lavender Town, and then you come out and it's just like,
Spooky.
oh, look. Yeah, and Cubone, okay, really, wearing the skull of its mother? Like, there's a lot of dark stuff.
Not morbid, yeah. Not morbid at all.
Not at all.
All right, play the first one of mine.
All right, here goes.
Because I win so far.
Oh, yeah, so far you are winning.
Epic winning.
What? Is that just like creepy ambience?
No, actually, it's actually a sound effect.
What?
It's funny because it's from not actually that creepy of a game or that creepy of a moment, but it sounds really creepy taken out of context.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm going to play it again. So if it's not creepy, it kind of sounds like a spaceship landing. But I'm gonna need some assistance, s'il vous plaît.
Okay. What hints do I give that doesn't just give it away?
You could give me console or like system.
Oh, it was across multiple systems.
Oh, what did I play it on?
I don't know. See, there I was trying to imitate the sound.
Oh.
Well, spaceship it's not on a spaceship, but like advanced technology is definitely very much a part of this game.
Yep, you've narrowed it down to about 5,000 titles.
Yeah, good job, me. But actually, sci-fi technology is a core mechanic. But I believe the game does take place on Earth.
You gotta.
Is this not helping?
What I hook me up with the systems. What systems was it for?
So
what era?
It was released during the 360 era.
Okay, so then
but it came out
360
on PC as well.
Oh,
I mean, it may have even come out first on PC. I'm not entirely sure. And it was released as a bundle.
As a bundle.
As part of a bundle.
Part of a bundle. I'm at a loss.
This bundle had a particular color to it.
It had a color to it?
Yep. It was a very colored bundle.
Oh, orange box.
Well, you're getting warmer. Yes, it's the Portal elevator sound.
Wow, good job. You definitely, well done. I applaud you on, a job well done.
It just sounded so creepy. I was like, oh my gosh.
Sound effects I picked last time. Yeah, no, it totally sounds like this just ominous, creepy, disturbing thing. But I guess I never really heard the elevator sound because I was always listening to GLaDOS chastise me.
But yeah, it's like the doors close at the beginning and the elevator's going.
Yeah. Huh. Okay, I'm going to play that again just so we get the context.
I can definitely see where you thought spaceship. Like,
yeah, I can see the elevator now that I know. I can visualize it. Well done, sir. Well done. All right, so you're winning still.
Epic winning.
Epic winning. All right, here's my second clip for you.
That's definitely spooky. My first thought is that that's from Super Mario 64.
And you would be correct. Now, what is it from?
Well, the Boo level, but I don't really remember any other details apart from that.
It's not from the Boo level.
Oh. Yeah, I definitely sounded very Mario.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's been so long since I played that game. It's a fantastic game, though.
Yeah, that's a great game. So that's actually near the end. I think it's the second or third star door. I think it might be the second. Unless you have enough stars, you can go in the star door. But if you don't have enough stars, the stairs just keep going forever. It might be the third one.
That's cool. Like the music just goes up and up and up like that. Like the rotating
this is
stairway.
The one that
I remember that area.
I wanted to talk about because I was listening to it and I was like, okay, it's not looping. It's just like, I mean, it is looping, but it's still going. Why doesn't it sound like it has a start and a stop? And it's this like really cool thing. So they have the low notes of like the, arpeggiation rolling up start as the high notes end. And so there's like this crossover point where the high notes go back down to the low notes, and what were the low notes are now where the high notes started. And it just like keeps going up and up forever. And it really gives you this sense of this never ending thing. And
that's so cool.
It's so amazing. Yeah. Cause it's this never ending staircase and it never ends.
Talk about design choices, like music, gameplay, they're kissing.
Definitely. But yeah, so I was fascinated by that because I knew that I wanted to use, originally I was going to use the King Boo's merry-go-round thing. Yeah, sure. Creepy horse ghosts.
Do you remember the keyboard that you had that had, I don't know what it was, like a laughter sample, but like the top few notes sounded exactly like the Boos laughing?
Yeah, it was some Yamaha or Casio keyboard or whatever that had like a sound effects thing. So there's like applauding and helicopter and laughter. And if you hit like the highest 3 or 4 notes on the keyboard, it sounded exactly like Boos laughing, which was kind of cool.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they created that sound sample using a similar kind of technique.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so well done. You got that one first shot, kabang.
Yeah.
So now you're even double epic winning. Most of the winning. All right, now I'm gonna see if I can figure out your second clip here. Okay.
Also kind of creepy.
Yeah. I recognize that I'm gonna just is that Braid?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Braid.
Because I recognize that collecting noise, and there's like the reverse thing at the end there. Oh man, talk about amazing games.
Oh yeah, definitely. I really liked how like the music kind of reflects the gameplay in that sense as well too. If you're not familiar with Braid, it's a puzzle platformer in which the core mechanic is time manipulation. And so the different worlds and levels have different rules for how you manipulate time. Some of them, like walking one direction on the screen makes time go backwards, and then walking the other direction makes it go forwards. There are some levels where you can just reverse time, but then you have to use this mechanic in creative and clever ways to solve the puzzles. But it also has a really fascinating story that gets revealed as you play.
It's a little ambiguous.
Yeah,
but it's there. I had to look up and read about it when I finished it to actually understand it. But it's cool. I think that the level where you move to the right of the screen and time goes forward, and you move to the left and time goes backwards, it is the most unique puzzle sensation I've ever experienced because it forces you to be like, okay, well, I'm doing this thing, and oh well, now I have to go back, but then he's going to go backwards, and the music. So, and again, talking about like silence, you're playing through and the music is, a wonderful soundtrack, and you get to this level, and as soon as you enter the level, there's no music. It's just dead silent, and you're like, okay, that's unnerving. And then you walk forward, and the music goes like starts playing, and then you stop, and the music winds down and stops. And you're like, oh, okay, so when I stop, something's happening, and it's like you were saying, the gameplay and the music like choices really are so strongly connected. And then,
and in this
of course,
case,
when you go backwards, it goes backwards.
Yeah, because in this case, like you don't even know that that's how the time mechanic works at the start of the level. Like you have to figure it out. Because I don't think they put a lot on the screen at the start to tell you that, but you can kind of figure it out just from the music, which I think is super cool. That everything is just connected together in that way.
Yeah, and that natural learning through gameplay is something that I love about Raid. It puts you in a situation where it's like, you're going to have to learn this mechanic, and the game is going to teach you it. I'm not going to say, push this button to do this thing. I think it tells you how to reverse time when you first die. Like what button to push, maybe. But it just, it does a really good job of intuitively teaching the player how to play the game, which is pretty sweet.
Yeah. All right, next clip.
All right, here you go. Clip numero tres.
Oh my
Spooky
gosh,
enough?
That's spooky. I am really drawing a blank on this one. It does sound like almost that like old school kind of style of gaming audio. So my brain is definitely thinking that it's a bit of an older game.
Yeah.
Which makes me think kind of in the Nintendo world, because that's mostly what we played when we were chillins.
Yeah.
Don't think you would have picked 2 Mario games, so... I
mean, you never know, but in this case, you're right. I didn't.
It doesn't really sound like it's from a Zelda game. But that doesn't mean it's not.
That's very true.
Drawing a large blank on what the hell else we played when we were kids.
Well, so this game is for the N64. But it's not only for the N64 anymore.
Is it Majora's Mask?
It's not Majora's Mask, but you are on the right track.
Well, so then it's Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the Ganon's Castle music.
Okay. See, it's kind of unfair because I didn't actually like play all of that game.
Yeah, and I was thinking, I wasn't sure if you actually ever got to the end, but there wasn't, I wanted to use that music specifically because it gave me another chance to talk about how when you enter into the main part of the castle, when that music starts, it's quiet. And as you go up the stairs and through the different rooms, it gets louder and louder and louder until you go in and he's there playing the organ like, bwah, ha, ha.
Oh, that's cool. He's like actually playing it.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, because he's an evil guy and evil guys play giant pipe organs.
Boy, so this mystery sound segment has turned into like music design choices 101.
Yeah, I mean,
like creating immersion.
I think it's great. I think it's really important.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, I mean, there's that. But you're still winning in any case.
Epic.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you had actually played all the way through Ocarina of Time or not, but I took a shot. How far did you get in that game?
I'm not sure. I think maybe the first 2 or 3 dungeons.
Oh,
so not very far.
Oh man, buddy, you gotta.
I started playing on an emulator a while back, and then stopped. Again, maybe it's something I should stream.
Yeah, no, do it. It's great. I mean, the one of the 2 games I've streamed fully a while ago. I streamed Ocarina of Time. I was playing it on my N64 though, and I 100%ed it for the first time ever, which was really cool for me. Got all of like the gold Skulltulas and all the collection and stuff like that. But I mean, it's definitely, even if you don't go for the 100% because it can get a little bit much.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a great game. It really is. It's a classic that I implore you to play, and streaming it would be even better.
Well, I am very employed, so
implored,
something like that.
It sounds like you just like take something and you like shove it into the floor. Implored.
I mean,
that
can be very spooky.
Lord of the Imps.
Something like that. All
right. Anyway, with that, I'm going to play your third mystery clip. I have no idea. So, okay. The only thing that it kind of sounded like was Unreal Tournament, but I'm pretty sure that's not it.
No, it's not Unreal Tournament, but it is a shooter.
Okay. Man. Is it something that I've played on my own or that we played like together collaboratively or whatever?
I mean, it was single player, but
Okay.
we sort of played it alongside each other, I think. Or I think I started playing it first, though. I got you onto this franchise.
You got me onto the franchise.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Although the early games were very different from the later games.
I think you just made it more confusing. What system are we talking?
We played it on
man,
PC.
On PC?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm on the struggle bus. Huh.
Choo choo. That's not a bus.
That's a train.
Struggle
Is that
train.
a clue? Oh.
No, that's not a clue. That's me not knowing what a bus sounds like.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm going to play it again to see if that helps my brain. I don't know.
All right.
I really
More hints.
Don't. I'll concede more or less at this point. You've won. I bow to your winning etude.
Winning etude.
You've stumped me this episode.
All right.
But,
Do you want me to just tell you then?
I mean, if you can think of another clue, it'd be cool if I could guess.
I mean, the only clues I'm thinking of would just kind of give it away.
That's fine. At least I get the honor of guessing it with my own voice.
Well, so I think the first game was actually made by an entirely different developer than the later. There's like 5 more games now. And then like the third game on are very, very different stylistically from the second and first game, but it's definitely become a very, very popular current franchise in the open world shooter realm. It was very much less open world in the early games, and this is from one of the earlier games. Is this helping at all?
Far Cry?
Yes, Far Cry 1.
Okay, Far Cry 1. There, because I was getting like kind of an old school-ish vibe.
Yeah.
But okay, Far Cry, yeah.
So yeah, it's actually from the intro cutscene, awkwardly.
Okay.
But yeah, the monsters were screaming.
Oh yeah, that was that was when I stopped playing. I got to the
monsters.
part with the monsters, and I was like, "What has this game become?" I don't know anymore. And then I stopped, and then I played Far Cry 2, and I was like, "This is pretty cool." And then Far Cry 3 was like, "Yeah." And then we still have to play. That's what we should do. Speaking of streaming and playing games,
playing Far Cry 4.
Yeah, get ourselves Far Cry 4 and try the co-op at some point.
Oh,
That'd be pretty fun.
Definitely. Yeah,
That's
I remember
something we should stream.
Far Cry 1 was something that, in the theme of scariness, the monsters scared the hell out of me in that game.
It was weird. Talk about like, something coming out of nowhere and throwing apart all of your expectations for the game.
Well, looking back, they were in the intro cutscene, so I guess maybe I shouldn't have been that surprised. But
I don't remember seeing them either. So
it's funny because like you go through the game and you're kind of like a secret agent kind of guy at the start, and you're doing the shooter combat. But you gradually like get more and more clues as to what's going on, and then suddenly these friggin' monsters show up, and they're really dangerous. I'm pretty sure they take you down like 1 or 2 hits. So it's not like on the jump scare level, but it's on the level of like, oh shit, if one comes out right now, I'm screwed. And like you definitely get that like sense of dread.
Yeah, it's a far cry from a picnic in the summertime.
Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting how different Far Cry 1 and 2 are from 3 onwards.
Yeah, I don't know if they were made by different developers or not, but yeah, Far Cry 1 was very much a linear, like, you go through the levels type of game. I mean, it was large and open in terms of how you could approach things, but it was linear in terms of progression, whereas Far Cry 2, you've got, outposts. It's very similar to Far Cry 3 and 4. I don't know what Far Cry Primal does.
Far Cry 2, it was weird though, because you had the outposts, except you were so constricted to some of the roads in some of the areas. Like
You had to drive through them, yeah.
Yeah, it was. You didn't have quite as much of an open world. I did really like the Far Cry 1 level design though, that you did have like, yeah, okay, you have to get to this one location, but you definitely had this feeling of you can kind of go anywhere on the island, like, or not anywhere on the island, but like anywhere through the level to get there. Like they gave you lots of options.
Yeah, they did a pretty good job with that, especially considering, it is an older game. I think that part of what made me stop playing it was the fact that when the monsters showed up, things became more constrained and much more linear. And I think I lost interest at that point. But
I definitely did too. I don't think I played through all of the game, maybe like 60-75% of it, but the monsters definitely scared me. So that's what made me think of putting that clip in for today.
Yeah, nice. Well, congrats on the win and the stumping of my brain. But I'll get you next time.
Yeah, you only really got the braid one, right?
Yeah, I only got the braid one. I did get that one. Like I will say I got that one. Yeah, the other two not at all.
I would say I got like 2.5 because the third one I guessed Majora's Mask, but
yeah, but it wasn't Majora's Mask.
So yeah, I was wrong. Wrong. We need like a button and like a soundboard, like and like a ding 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 and like a for wrong.
Do we really?
Maybe it can just be my mouth. Ding ding ding.
I like that.
Okay.
I might just pull that and then use that.
Use
as like
my brain as
right
a soundboard.
or wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea. I think I'm going to do that. Maybe.
All right, you heard it here first. It's official.
What? Now I have to do it. It's on the internet, or will be on the internet. Can't not, won't not.
Can't
anyway.
not, won't not.
So, as we begin to wrap up the spooky, it really wasn't that spooky, I guess, edition of Tune Into Gaming. I mean, it's spookier than normal. I got to laugh.
You certainly did. And we all had to hear it.
The worst.
Thank
the
you
truly
for
worst
that.
part.
I appreciate it so much.
That's what's most important to me.
No sarcasm in this whatsoever.
None at all. 100% honest voice. Sincerity.
But anyway, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please check out our Twitter at tuneintogaming.
Yeah, or email us at tuneintogaming@gmail.com if you have any comments or questions or want to say that you think we're awesome or that we're terrible at guessing sound from games. Or maybe if you have any suggestions, you can also tweet at us as well. Either way.
Definitely the suggestions on the mystery sound. Like if you want to send in samples, just send it. Oh, I guess that wouldn't work. We need to come up with a system for that, don't we?
If there's interest in like the community submissions for the mystery sound, then
let us know.
We'll figure something out. Yeah, let us know. And then maybe we'll be on iTunes by the time this is released on Monday. I don't know. I did the submitting thing, but we'll find out. So if we're on iTunes, subscribe to us on iTunes because that's pretty sweet, and comment and rate us there as well.
And also check out our Twitch channels, Quactical and North Kozar.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what we got for you from this edition. I'm gonna do this thing because I wanted to laugh.
It's not funny.
No,
I'm not laughing. It's not funny.
No laughing. All right, so we're done here.
Tune out.